The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and happy Monday. Welcome to Victory Mondays with Dave Vick, and I'm Dave Vick, and we're going to talk about moving millions through the ABC planning process, probably the only planning process you really ever need. Very simple to learn, and so we're going to go through the basics of it and then have training on it in August at our academies. And so let's get started. Again, I'm Dave Vick, president of Vick Associates, author of Bat Sox Vegas and Conservative Investing, a book about conservative investing and where index annuities and really fixed principal assets fit in a portfolio of assets. So you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I created the ABC planning process, the financial ABCs of retirement planning college workshops, and then the ABC Snapshot software. And then we've also got the new 6 Pillars of Retirement Income college workshops. So these are workshops done on college campuses for boomers and seniors, and they pay a tuition of $49, and you get to spend great time with highly qualified prospects on a college campus and develop trust and relationship with them. And then they come into your office, and you work through the ABC planning process with them. And average premium out of a course is about $1 million. And do guys do more? Absolutely. Do guys do less? Very few. We have an advisor expo up in Minneapolis, Minnesota this week on Wednesday, and want to invite you to that. We'll have a reception to follow. It's from 2 to 5 p.m. And we're going to talk about our college workshops up there. Our ABC planning process, our maximizing Social Security workshop, and our ABC Snapshot software. All the things we're going to cover today, we're going to cover in more detail up there, and we'd love to have you if you can make it. What we really want you to get to is get on board with the training so that you can get. If you're going to get in the college program at all, you're going to really want to get into the university, into the academy, I should say, because we teach you everything, nuts and bolts, and how to get the college workshops done, teach you the software, teach you the planning process. And so it's 2.5 days of just necessary as we go through the content training for you. So what you want to do is click on, get to vickassociates.com, go to the upcoming events and training tab. And remember, it's Vick Associates. Vick, there's no Vick and Associates in there on the URL. So some people call me and say, your website's down. It's not really down. You just don't put the little ampersand sign in there, and you'll be good. Or just call us. And I'd love to talk to you, 888-460-1115, and see what your business is up to. If you're on the webinar today, give me a call this afternoon, and let's see what your practice is doing, and see if we can get you involved in any of our workshops to help you really grow your practice. Love Vince Lombardi, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch a little excellence along the way. Ah, that's a great saying. You know, we're not perfect. We never will be, but to chase it, you know, that's when we get excellent in our planning, in our business practices, in everything that we do. It's a great slogan. So let's talk about this ABC planning process. We created it some years ago now when I started doing training and mentoring agents around the country, and I've really trained thousands of agents. Really, over 1,000 agents in the last 2 years have come through the ABC planning process training. And we went to this because I realized as a mentor about 7, 8 years ago that the people that were coming through my training, by and large, had a hard time doing what I do, because if you understand that most mentoring nationally is DNA driven. And what I mean by that is that your mentors out there, the mega producers, are producers that way largely due to their DNA. I mean, they've developed some great programs and systems, but largely their DNA is the driving force, and you just can't replicate it. You can't go and be somebody else. So I said, how do we get a system and a plan that really works for everybody? Can we narrow down a model, a planning model, that people could just inject their own DNA into the structure, and would it work? And then could we have marketing surround that? that would work also. And so we really went to school on what I was doing and then narrowed that down to a basic structure. And then we did top producer meetings and brought them in and to test and to work through all the issues. And we really found, in fact, one of the very first top producer groups we had was in my office in Naperville, and we had about 8 guys in. We went to dinner. One guy couldn't go because he had a client appointment that night, and so we all got back together for the meeting in the morning. And the guy that couldn't make the dinner was back with us, and he said, you know, good news, I closed $600,000 using the ABC process, that planning model that we talked about yesterday afternoon. So he learned it in the afternoon, used it that evening. It's that simple. What I'm going to show you is very, very simple, and you can use it, and you can use it this afternoon. You know, just when you use this afternoon, though, just kind of remember who showed it to you, and give us some of that great business that you're going to write, and because we want to help you improve and grow your practice. I used to have 5 offices with a partner in Chicago and in Wisconsin, and we used to have seminar teams running 3 days a week, two seminars a day, and I'd sit in my office with attorneys, and I'd fund trust, and I'd see a new case every 90 minutes and have about 5 minutes to look at that file to determine what asset to put in, you know, to try to beat. And so it was very transactional in nature, highly transactional in nature. And I wrote, you know, $12 to $15 million a year doing that. And but it was just a nightmare in terms of burnout, because you just run through so many people, and try to sell. It's transactional, and instead of trying to get, you know, fewer people with larger dollar amounts, and really work with them and let them bring their friends and to events and go through a whole process with them. So really changed my thinking when we started going down this road of the ABC planning process in terms of moving away from transactional to process-oriented. We're going to talk about that today too. So let's take a look at the model that we created. We answered this question. We think if you answer this question effectively, you significantly increase your production. Where do index annuities fit into a client's total portfolio of assets? And notice it's not how does an FIA beat a VA or a mutual fund or a CD or my index annuity beat your index annuity. It's not the question. What a client wants to know is, because they've heard so many negative things about annuities, they want to know, number one, is it a valid asset, and then where would it fit in? Instead of trying to plop all their money into an index annuity, which a lot of annuity salesmen with annuity breath try to do, we answer a very simple question. Where do index annuities fit in as an asset class? You got to remember, as an asset class, these are principal protected assets. In other words, they're fixed principal assets, not fixed income assets. They're fixed principal assets. So let's take a look at the model here. Very simple. When I sit down with somebody, I've got a 50-inch plasma TV on the wall in my conference room and a whiteboard next to it. And so I usually do this on a whiteboard, but I'll show it to you here this way. You know, we get to a certain point in the investigative process, and we talk about their investable assets. And I said, let's just, you know, take a snapshot of your finances, see how what you're talking about relates to the overall picture. And we get to this overall picture, and we talk about, here's your investable assets. They break down such. So then I say, you have so much, you know, let's say $900,000 in investable assets. And typically there are 3 categories of assets that people place money in to invest. And I'm going to describe those assets to you, and you just simply tell me what percent you put in each category. So the yellow column, column A, are assets that, you know, earn just a very nominal amount of interest currently. That's taxable, liquid, bank, CDs, savings accounts, checking accounts. It's your cash and your bank assets. And I draw an upward arrow on the board signifying they're protected asset. So it's got great liquidity and protection. And that's really what they want out of here. It's their bank assets, their cash assets. Column B, the green money column, are assets that over a 5 to 10 year period historically have returned 3 to 7%. They're tax deferred and moderately liquid, and I draw an upward arrow signifying they're a protected asset. And then there's the growth column, the red money column, where the money can go up 10%, 20%, 30% in a year. The challenge with the growth column, of course, is it can also go down 30% a year, 10% or whatever. You can lose money in the column. So typically we set these up in taxable accounts, meaning joint accounts, brokerage accounts, trust accounts, mutual fund accounts, managed accounts. They can be in a taxable situation. We want really good liquidity here in the red money column. I'll explain that in a second. And most of the money in the red money column, growth column, is in America is in 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, qualified accounts. And then just think of this column as your stock or bond type risk, and have to draw an upward, downward arrow signifying that you could lose money, you could gain money, either way. So I ask them, so what % of your assets would you want in column A? And the most common answer for retirees, 10%. And then I skip a column and I go to the growth money column and I say, what % of your assets would you want in stock or bond type risk? And they might say 30% in retirement. Prior to that, a boomer might say, and then I simply say, I look at these two numbers and I say, so what you're telling me is you want 60% in the green money column, and you probably want to know what that green money column is. And then we put in a little DVD on a 4-year graph and show them how it works, and they really understand that we use ladder maturities of index annuities here. And so we have 3 green money rules that we talk about in this middle column, and people want to know if their bonds fit in it. So let's just see. We'll give you the green money rules and see if that works. And green money rule number 1, you have to protect your principal. 2, protect your gains. 3, protect your income. And if an asset can't do those 3 things, protect principal, gains, and income, then it really can't fit in the green money column. So if a bond, let's talk about Enron bonds, WorldCom bonds, maybe Detroit bonds right now, and see, if those bonds would be able to follow these rules. And the obvious answer is they really don't follow those rules at all. And so in the green money column, you really got fixed principal assets, and your fixed income assets, bonds, go in the red money column. But it's a pretty conservative red money column bet. So we do some bond portfolios when we do investing. Another way to look at this is through the 3 priorities that clients want. They typically want gains, liquidity, and protection. And they typically want all of those things in one asset, which, as you know, as advisors, you just can't get. Great total liquidity, total protection, and great gains. So you're going to have to be willing to give up something to get what you want. And what we try to do is figure out how to get them their priority alignment. So in other words, if somebody wants gains, what are they going to give up? Well, they're going to give up protection. And if they want liquidity, what are they going to give up? Well, they're going to give up gains. And if they want protection, well, they're going to give up some liquidity, because reality tells me that this isn't, I look at the B money column with annuities in it as illiquid assets and treat it that way. Yes, it's moderately liquid, but when we do suitability for annuities, the ABC structure gets us the liquidity we need in column A and column C, which in the prior example of 10-60-30, we were 40% liquid, and I asked them if that's enough liquidity or do they want more. And if they want more, then we move money out of the green money column and put it into A or C, whichever they like. Another way to look at this is cash, and indexed annuities or annuities, and fixed annuities. Could even be cash value life insurance here for life insurance retirement plans. And then we use Red Hawk, our RIA, but you use your whatever your BD or your RIA is there in your red money. And so it's cash, fixed principal assets, and your securities. So now let's take a look at, and by the way, we do this, and we do this all day long. And guys get this, you can see how simple it is to do, to explain. And people really understand it if you go through that process of, giving them the 3 columns, talking about their priorities, and they really understand it. For the first time, a guy comes in with 90% in the red money column. Wow, and they're just, we'll show you the process. They freak out because they really didn't want that. They really would feel more comfortable with 50%. So if the market went down like it did in 2008, 38%, and you only had, say, 40% in the red money column, and only 40% was exposed to that type of loss, or a 20% loss, would you feel more comfortable in retirement? And that's the kind of conversations we have. So when somebody says to me also, Dave, can you compare this Prudential or MetLife VA with an FIA? I typically don't run into those those conversations with my clients because they realize that the VA is a red money asset and has value for income planning and those kinds of things. But you have to account for liquidity in the red money column. So if you're using VAs in the red money column, you want to make sure they understand that in that 10-60-30 split, that some of that 30% isn't liquid. But let's just say that we took that VA and put it into the green money column and transferred it over to an indexed annuity and used a better income rider in the indexed annuity, and then used managed money in the C column, and now we had 30% always liquid. We still have a 5 to 10 year outlook on the C money column. It's long-term money, but it's liquid without surrender penalties, and that's really what we're after. So we want that 40, the cash and the growth columns liquid for liquidity purposes for suitability. Let's talk about ABC process in terms of being a process model or a transactional model. And I watched too much TV with my son Tom when he was younger, so Big Bird would say the ABC planning process is brought to you by the letter P. And I laugh at this a little bit, but I think the industry is so focused on their priorities on product that we've misaligned our priorities. And I'm going to give you 4 priorities to start with, and I think that we have way too much emphasis on product. I think annuities and annuities and annuity, it's a commodity. You need to know what to do with the annuity, how to make it work. You need to stop selling bonuses and riders and use those as tools to solve financial planning problems, not as incentives for greed. And so to think through with it to entice people, right? So we need to think that through with people a little bit better in terms of a process. And so priorities would be people first. I mean, if people aren't first number one priority, that's where everybody gets into trouble. And really, those of you listening, I'm sure this is your priority. But you can identify with me the articles that you read about planners that get in trouble, and you begin to realize that their pocketbook was number one, or their standing with the company was number one, trying to reach a top 10 status or something. Anything other than the person sitting in front of me's priorities being number one and their desires. I mean, you have such an awesome responsibility, and an awesome opportunity to help people who've come to you with their entire life savings and said, help me retire. What do I do with this? And that's what you're doing. If you screw that up, you shouldn't be put in jail. You should be shot at sunrise. I mean, this is their whole life, and it's so important that you know what you're doing and that you think with them to a conclusion that they really want, not that something that you really want for them, but that they really want, that they need, and that they can support the dreams that they have for their retirement. That's what people first, means. People first. I remember, it's like this. I'm sitting in a living room here in Wheaton, Illinois, with a client about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and the guy and his wife is sitting on the couch. I'm in the recliner chair looking at him, and behind them is a big a big glass window, and it's February, and the snow is out in the ground and everything. And here sits a grizzled 83-year-old who's 87 pounds, who's lost his battle with cancer. He's going to die shortly, and he's got his checklist in front of him on his little TV tray stand, and he's an accountant, so he's got his checklist, and he's going down each one. The checklist, of course, is what's going to happen after he dies, and he wanted to make sure everything's in order. And then he leans back on the couch, and he starts to say, and then he stops, and he starts, and he stops. And he starts and he stops, and tears roll down his grizzled, really unshaven, grizzled face. Never forget it. And he says, will you take care of Louise? Oh, my gosh. That's why we do what we do. For moments like that, we really matter. And I know those of you listening and watching this have had experiences just like that. And that's why you do what you do. We make a great living, we do, and we really do it for that reason. It's a business. But what keeps us in it and motivates us has got to be more than money. It's got to be people and their lives and the impact that you can have. And this makes you matter. You don't want to get to the end of your life having not mattered. And those kinds of things, when done well, they make your life matter, and they make your life matter in this business. So people first, and then process. Have a process that you take people through to think with them to a logical conclusion that they can live with, and develop the plan with them that the product fits into. There, the product is the final priority. So it's people, then know the process, go through the process to develop the plan that implements the product. So, that transactional, nature, or process, what type of planner are you? I can tell you that I used to be transactional in nature, and that's what that's really who I was and what I did. I was highly transactional, and that meaning, and you'll see here, what that is, and because I was running 5 offices and 3 seminar teams and sitting in front of new people every 90 minutes. It was a crazy existence. I burn out every May, take 6 weeks off in the summer, and started up again in the fall, and burn out by Thanksgiving. It's just a crazy existence. And if you want to get out of that crazy existence and make more money, do more for your clients, and enjoy it more, then you have to get away from the transactional nature of our industry. And so what do I mean by transactional? Well, it's event oriented. Somebody's turned on the switch, the game, or whatever, kicked the ball off, and we're off and running. You got 90 minutes to do your dog and pony show and make a sale. Make a sale. And that's what my life was like. It was event oriented. That hour, it's an event. Looking for one asset to put into an annuity. Just looking to beat something, beat a VA, beat something weak, and look for it to beat it and put it into an annuity. Looking for a sale, just looking for a sale today. That's all I'm doing. One and done, in and out. Stuck in client acquisition mode. Client acquisition, next seminar, next lead card, next booked appointment, next, just stuck and hung and just got to live there. It's kind of like the wolf and the shepherd, right? The wolf doesn't care about tomorrow. He's got to eat today. So he kills it, eats it today. Doesn't care about tomorrow. The shepherd cares about tomorrow. And, sure, he has to take a staff every now and then and whack a sheep across the head to get him to go somewhere, but he leads them. Difference between a shepherd and a wolf. Few referrals. Boy, you don't want referrals. You send them to my seminar, I used to say. And but you get few referrals because people really, truly don't want to refer you because they feel taken, they feel sold, and sometimes just glad to get out of your office. I'll never forget being in a guy 5 minutes away from my house and with another agent and just working and training with them and stuff. And the guy in the living room, he said, as we're going through his assets, and he brings out this annuity policy, and I recognized the guy who sold it to him, and I said, oh, the guy was on the, he's a well-known guy and everything, and I know him. He goes, oh, says he's really good salesman. The guy says, the client says, good salesman. Wish I'd never met him. He still has the certificate. Doesn't trust the guy, doesn't ever want to see him again. You think he's talking about this guy to other people? He is, and it's not good. So process-oriented means that we're going to have a definite process to lead people through instead of just being an event to try to sell somebody, but a plan to think with somebody to a logical conclusion, to a better financial decision or the best financial decision for the client. Looking for the best financial plan for the client rather than just something to put into an annuity. Working for the best interest for the client instead of just trying to make a sale. Looking for an ongoing relationship. Imagine your clients being your top salespeople. And that's what the reality tells me, is that my clients have been my best salespeople. I get referrals all the time. Service creates raving fans. And the process implies service, and so you develop the service model, you anticipate needs, and you work with people. It's not just one and done and stuck in client acquisition mode. And what happens is people begin to refer you on a regular basis, and I could always count on new referrals coming in, and it's so much easier when 50 to 60% or more of your business are referrals. Because just think about this: take the top 10 clients you have, best relationships, most biggest accounts. The clients that you think, man, I love working with these people. I love it when they come in, I love what they call, as opposed to the people who call and you look at the message and you say, oh, I don't want to return this call. you want to replicate your top 10 times over. What if that could happen? Because people like those who are like them, and so their friends are kind of like them, and they would come in and have the same great relationship with you, and that's what having a process enables you to do. To get them in the process for planning and marketing is all one process. So why is the process so important? Because it helps clients make better decisions, better for the client, better for the agent. Better decisions usually mean no buyer's remorse. I haven't had somebody change their mind in years, years. Nobody calls me at 10 o'clock at night leaving the voicemail saying they want to cancel anything. It doesn't happen anymore. It used to. It doesn't happen anymore. Larger cases. The average annuity case in America is about $50,000. My average transactional average was about $119,000, and when I went to a process, it started to go over $250,000. What a change! It literally doubled. And so you don't want buyer's remorse. You really want larger cases, and then you really want happy campers, more referrals, and those are the things that you're after. And that's what a process does for you. Now, think with people, not for them. This is the kind of the slogan for the process, thinking with people, not for them. In other words, you think with them through a process that leads them to a better financial decision. And so often, we have a tendency to think for people, and that we know what we're doing, and we see it, and it's so tempting when people come into the office and you talk to them and for any length of time, and you think, I know, because you have such a great belief system in what you do and the assets that you use. In fact, I was talking to an agent on the road. We did road shows in Chicago, Philly, and Virginia and Maryland last week. Talking to an agent last week in Maryland, and he's saying, he says, we suggest that clients put a certain amount of money in here because of this certain reason. And I asked him, well, what does the client tell you, and what do they want? Do you ask them first? And it was interesting because he didn't, and he began to see that. And so really, instead of you coming in with a preconceived notion about what you want to sell somebody, because you have to make a sale to make your quota and make your living, and I get all that, but if you go down a different path of thinking with people and not just assuming you know what they need, of course you have what they need, but lead them to it. Don't push them to it. In fact, if you look up the word sell in the Webster's dictionary, look up the word lead. Look at this. I thought this was so interesting when I saw this. To sell, deliver in violation of duty, trust, or loyalty, and especially for personal gain. Betray, often used to sell out the kind of, in the dictionary they used Benedict Arnold as the example of selling. That's, our culture thinks of us when we start acting like salesmen, and this is who our culture thinks we are. To give up in return for something else, especially foolishly or dishonorably. Deliver into slavery for money. Given to the power of another. Oh my gosh, I've got the sales power. These guys that are high-powered salesmen that you listen to, that insurance companies and others bring on their speaking tours, and they're high-powered salesmen. Oh my gosh, they're great to listen to, very entertaining. Then you begin to realize, that we're all trying to get the same, power they had, the same pixie dust that we can sprinkle on people, and they'll do whatever we want them to do. Oh my gosh. Manage for profit instead of in accordance with conscience, justice, or duty. I don't think this is who you want to be. It's not who I want to be. I'm really proud of what I do. And what I think we want to be is a leader. And a leader, in the dictionary, it has three terms that it uses that you see: guide, direct, and serve. Guide, direct, and serve. Oh my gosh, that's the kind of stuff I want to get involved with. Guide on the way by going in advance. We've been there before. Direct on a course. Serve as a channel. Direct the operations. Bring to some conclusion. Guide someone. Guide someone or something along a way. More like a shepherd than a wolf. We want to be leaders. We want to be leaders and not just salespeople. Which defines you? Just think of this: don't sell, lead. And and think about this statement. I know what is best for a client and work hard to convince them to move in that direction. Now, you have to honestly say probably that you've really been there, right? Because I have. I know what is best for a client, and I work hard to convince them to go in that direction. That's what we do daily on a daily basis, I think. And yet, here's what leading means. Using questions and illustrations, I think with people through a process that leads them to the conclusion they believe is the best financial decision for them. It's a subtle difference. It's a subtle difference using questions and illustrations, I think, with people through a process that leads them to the conclusion they believe is the best financial decision for them. That's where we want to live. That's where we get in the least amount of trouble, you know, with regulators and compliance and all that kind of stuff. So, and in the end, you go from $50,000 average sale to $119,000 to $250,000. And that's what's so great about the college workshops, is because it places you in this light where you're answering questions in a classroom, giving illustrations, and thinking with people about their retirement, about this one of the biggest events ever in their life, their retirement. And you come to a conclusion, when you can come to a conclusion with them and they get it and you get it and you find it together, you know, it's exciting. You know, it's exciting. It's enough to celebrate over. So here's the 4-step planning process that we use when we talk about the ABC planning process. It's investigate, recommend, implement, review, and adjust. And it's, you know, these are very simple steps. The first one being probably the most important step or phase. And it doesn't mean that it's 4 meetings. It could be 7 meetings. It could be 3 meetings, you know, but it's not 1 meeting. In fact, I had an advisor come through my training a couple years ago who was an advisor in Massachusetts, and he told me that, you know, he'd been subpoenaed by the state, and they'd asked him for records and everything else, and they were going to, you know, pursue litigation or whatever against him. And they asked, I think he said 24,000 records he gave them, you know, pages of records that he gave them. And his lawyer worked with him and everything. Finally, one day his lawyer called him and said, you know, case over, don't have to worry about it anymore. And he goes, what? Why? Because at your last deposition, they asked you a question, and you answered it correctly, and they said, we're done. And so the question was what % of your sales do you make on the first visit by a client? And he answered 0. 0. And they said, you know, if he'd answered 10%, they'd have kept on going, because there was nothing in the files that led them to believe that he did anything other than a process in working with people through. So that's, you know, that's very important in today's world. We investigate each other, their portfolio, leaks, gaps, deficiencies in the plan. We diagnose needs, wants, and goals, present some sample solutions, and it's designed to solicit the client's ideas about planning and their needs, wants, and goals, and set up the next meeting by establishing a commitment by both parties, which is really important when we really go over this in training, the phases of, and then how a phase ends, and how to lead into the next phase. And we really go into this in Charlotte. You're going to want to come see it and get involved in it. It's scripted out. It's on DVDs and everything. We recommend, you know, specific elements of the solution, which product is to be used, how it will affect the strategy, mold the plan to the client's suggestions, even in this meeting. And the client will be asked to affirm the allocation, make the decisions to move assets, and all the information needed then at the end, the last 10 minutes of this phase, I fill out an information form on my software that allows me to keep it, and then they leave and we fill out all the applications for the next meeting, which is the implementation meeting. We go thoroughly over, you know, 90 minutes of going thoroughly over applications, and so people get to, you know, look at disclosures, suitability forms. We get all the signatures. They feel very comfortable going through it. And then we explain the time frame and processes, transferring of assets, prepare the clients for any conservation efforts, and set up proper review expectations, which is very important. Setting up, you know, because most of the time an agent thinks right here when they deliver, you know, when they deliver a policy, that it's over. You know, client thinks that it's just the beginning. Agent thinks that it's done. We made the sale. We get the commission. Hope they live a year. No, that's pretty gross. And so we get to keep the commission. But, you know, the client thinks it's the beginning of the relationship. and a transactional agent thinks it's pretty much the end. And that's where we get into, really problems and communication expectations going down the road. So I think you set up yourself up and these people up as client partners who become, for the next 6 months, especially in the next 6 months to a year, people who invite their friends to your ongoing events, and we'll teach you how to do that. Actually teach you how to set up consistent events that these people can bring their friends to, instead of doing the same old dribble on referrals saying, I'm paid in 2 ways. Oh my gosh, it's so old and tiresome. The best way to get a referral is to have somebody talk about who you are and what it was like working with you, and then invite them to your next class or your next client dinner or cheese and wine tasting party, whatever it is. And then we go and review and adjust, and we either deliver policies and have all the assets in place in our securities accounts, and review the ABC plan with them, and then we set up, give them, everybody, in my practice, gets a calendar of the next 3 months events, so they can begin inviting people to those events. And thus we create a cycle of referrals as we go on. The first meeting we really think is so important. We've broken it down into 12 sections, and there's you can tell the first section is 90 seconds. So and then 3 to 5 minutes, and we have a standard disclosure that takes 15 seconds to say. But we teach you to go through this and it's scripted out. You're not going to follow script. At least you're going to know the concept, in the script and what you can use. And some people use pick out some of the words. But we really, in any of these meetings, you really want to know, especially in the first one, where you are, especially where you are in the process. And so it's so important that you learn this. And as a professional, you can learn it. I mean, it's one thing as a professional to master a body of information about your products you sell, master a body of information about financial markets, master a body of information about boomers or seniors. And we get all that information mastered and we think we're a professional, but that's only half the job. Becoming a true professional, the other half of the job is being able to lead somebody from point A to point B to make a financial decision that's best for them. If you can't do that, then all your mastery of information does you no good nor the client any good. And so we really work on you really knowing where you are and learning a process. And as a professional, doggone it, you can learn a process. Anybody can learn to follow it. And it really is simple to go through. And we'll teach it in Charlotte. It's very important to go through. We have the snapshot software is developed out of my practice, where I had developed Excel spreadsheets and to illustrate principles to my clients. And I used to be just a pad and pencil guy, draw stuff on a notepad, and gee, I could write upside down as clients are across the table, and they'd say, oh, look, you can write upside down. It's somewhat entertaining. Remember the Dog and Pony Show? Well, I began to take that intake sheet and put it up on I put a 24-inch screen on the end of my conference room table, and began to realize that clients were enthralled with the screen, and they related more with the screen than they did with my notepad, of course. And so they even began correcting things on screen and interacting better. And so I also noticed that when I brought up things online like Yahoo Finance or anything I put on that screen was the truth. It was a 24-inch screen, so I said to myself, heck, if 24 inches is the truth, 50 inches is the gospel. So I put a 50-inch, I'll go to 60-inch or whatever, But it seemed the bigger the better, and it really got people involved, and it still does. So we wanted a software where we could use with the client right then and there, not something that was lost in the minutia, something that you really couldn't use with people and that they couldn't understand. So that the colors are big, the numbers are big. It's intuitive, easy to use, easy to learn, and we have training webinars on it all the time. So we want you to get it. It's like $250, and we don't need the $250, but if we don't charge you something, you won't even look at it. We could easily charge $2,000, $3,000 for this software, or monthly fees, whatever. But we $250 and then a $75 annual fee. If you're in our college workshop program, because your premium's so high, we don't even charge you for it. You get it for free. And if you come with this and do other production, you can do enough production to get the software for free. Anyway, we just want it as a tool for you to increase your production. And that it does in the ABC process. And this screen here, you see is just the intake screen, and you'll see that we take a snapshot of finances to see what they're talking about fits into the whole picture, and I can do this right with the client in 5 to 7 minutes. And it's done at this 12-step process when I say, let's just take a number 6 there, a snapshot of your finances and see how what you're talking about fits into the whole picture. And then, interestingly enough, the next step in the 12-step model is the ABCs. And so the snapshot software leads us into an ABC discussion. Here's where the ABC discussion fits. Notice that I say that I go through, here's your total assets, total debts, your investable assets, net worth, explain net estate value with any life insurance with their qualified money, non-qualified, and I say you're probably wondering what, and that actually doesn't pop up in the software, but I wanted you to see it. You're probably wondering what the ABCs are, and then I go to the whiteboard, remember, and I said, let me explain. You have $26,000, and there are 3 categories of assets that you typically put money in. I'll explain the categories. You tell me what % you want to put assets in, and then we go through that ABC process, and they actually get it, and that's where it fits in. And then once we put that 10-60-30 in, or whatever their portfolio is, this is the 10-60-30, we hit the plan, and these pie charts come up on a 50-inch plasma, which is great. And here's where they currently are. It shows them when we put the assets in, and here's where they want to go, 10-60-30. And this is typical, cash and securities. Somebody says, what's all the red? That's the risk you have in your current portfolio. And then, the wife will turn to the husband and say, did you know that? And the husband says, I knew that. Of course I knew that. Yeah, I got it down. Or he says, I told the broker I didn't want to be that risky. I wanted conservative. I want to be conservative. And I say, is this about the amount of risk you want in your portfolio? And they say, yeah, that's it. That looks good. Or they say, no, we could take a little bit more risk, or we want a little bit more liquidity, or that looks like too much in column B. Let's balance it out a little better. So we manage by colors, and they get to see visually where they want to go. And then we have some other concepts, in income planning, in Roth IRAs, and accumulation distribution, and all kinds of things. And annual reviews. We got ABC review here. You got an ABC profile review all your clients. You got to pick up the software, ABC profile review all of your clients, and you will be amazed at how where they are isn't where they want to be, and you get them to where they want to be for the first time in their lives. Does it work? Warren from Houston, who moved to Nashville, says, gives me this, I plan to use the ABC approach in all my business and hope to see you soon. By the way, thanks. Just before I moved from Texas, I wrote a $400,000 annuity with American Equity, $100,000 and a $75,000 LTC with One America. It took me 8 visits, but I followed the ABC approach, and it's some very loyal clients thanks to you. Notice the 8 visits. 8 visits. I love it. Would you do 8 visits to get this case? Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. It works, and I get these emails all the time. We have ABC planning process scripts for you, starter kit. Once you get contracted with us, and we require 2 core contracts, and then $100,000 your next case of business, and we'll send you everything. We'll get you going on everything. The starter kit has, the white paper in it, the concepts DVD, the ABC planning process script, flip chart, a dry erase flip chart that you can use in home, and even at your office to explain the concepts of the ABCs. And then planning process training DVD and the audio CD. Wall Street is Broken seminar. We have very inexpensive snack shops where you can spend like $600 to $1,000 to get in front of 15 to 25 people, and tell the ABC story. And then we have college workshops that are there. That's our big Cadillac where, this really works well for agents. And then we're creating agent websites. We're going to ABC brand you with your company on an extremely and incredibly nice, professionally done website, and those come in August. That comes along on the website with email campaigns and newsletters, video newsletters, everything else, and then of course the snapshot software. And coming in August, we'll have software on the iPad. That illustration I showed you with the intake sheet and the pie charts is coming on the iPad, and then we'll improve on that as the years goes on. So all of these things, and you just have to ask yourself, does your FMO provide these kinds of resources, and this kind of planning to get you where you want to go with your clients. We really want you to become a part of it. So if you're listening, please call us today at 888-460-11111 and let us get you started in the process, in the ABC planning process, all the tools that we have. Again, I want to get you to the Advisor Expo, or really want you to get you here. Let's get you contracted. Let's get you to Charlotte for real training for 2.5 days that could really change your career in the ABC planning model. And if you like what you saw today, we go into the art of asking questions. What are the questions you actually ask? And now we've put them in the software. It didn't used to be in the software. We actually put it in the software for you, and so that you can conduct a meeting. And then we'll train you on the Social Security workshop, the 6 Pillars of Income workshop, and the ABCs of the Financial ABCs of Retirement Planning workshop, and the planning process. Red Hawk's going to be there. It's a huge training event. You won't want to miss it. Give us a call today. Figure out how you can get there. Really, give us a call today. Those of you who listen, and see how you can get there. Go to vickassociates.com. Go to the Events Training tab and just register. Just click on and register. We'll send you the agenda. You can actually click on the agenda there, once you register, and see for yourself. And then we'll get you all the information that you need. Get you the white paper for the college workshops. We can get you, if you do this and give me a call, let's get you a free 30-day trial on the software. No cost or obligation to you, just a free. You can tool around it, look at it, and see how it works. But give us a call today, and we'll get you that free software trial. You can call me for marketing and sales support. Call Debbie Connor for administration, for getting all the forms needed to run a workshop, to run software, and you can order it through Debbie, the software through Debbie. You call Brian Steppen at Step to Success to find out if you can get a territory of 10,000 names and a venue, and see how that would work in your area to do the best marketing program the college workshops has probably ever created. And then call Chad Blanton, our FIG partner. We're partners with Financial Independence Group. We've partnered with them to provide back office support, product knowledge, contracting. So you can actually send your application into us, and we'll scrub it at FIG, and they'll track it for you. They'll call the transferring carriers and get it issued. It'll generally cuts a week to a week and a half off your time by sending the applications into us, and where we can take care of them for you. You can go do other business. If you're not doing all that stuff, you're sitting in front of more clients and getting paid faster. That's a great thing. And Chad Blanton is the best at product knowledge, knowing what writer to use in what state, in what case. They even have software there that'll tell you the best writer that'll work, the most effective writer in your area. He just puts in the casework, up pops 3-4 writers, 3-4 companies and their writers that best fit your scenario. And you're going to want to lean on Chad. So call him at 800-527-1155. Tell him you're with Vick Associates, and you want to get going with them. Next week, we're going to talk about the art of asking questions. And you're going to really want to see this one, because this is where, in the planning process, we really take and describe the questions that you need to ask to lead people to a better financial decision. And it really is a skill, the art of asking questions. Most of us just present. But this is asking questions to lead people to a better financial decision. And then visit our website, Vick Associates, which will be changing by the end of the week, and get our new website up. But we've got a good website up there now, provided to us by Step to Success. And then Alta Street is creating our new website, and where you have portals to the back end and getting all our training and everything else. So you want to stay tuned for our Vick Associates website. Get on there now and get all the information for our training. Call us today, 888-460-1115. If your FMO is not doing for you what I've just described, come on board. Get together with us. We will take you to the next level. I'm confident we can. And no doubt in my mind whatsoever that we can help you get to the level where you want to really be. And so give us a call. We really believe you're a 10. You were born a 10. You'll die a 10. You won't lose a penny of value in between. You're a winner, and we want to help you win big. So have a great week, and give us a call. Take care.